Welcome to Louisiana's Old State Capitol. One of the first things people see when they enter the building is the fabulous spiral staircase and the beautiful stained glass window, but there's so much more to see. Baton Rouge wasn't always the state capitol. At one time, the statehouse was located in the city of New Orleans. It was the financial and the commercial capital of the state, and some people were concerned that that was too much power in one location. Oh, and the legislators were having a great time down in the French Quarter. So the decision was made to move the capital to the city of Baton Rouge. James Dakin was the architect who was chosen to design the Old State Capitol, and he believed that Louisiana was a different kind of state and it needed to have a different kind of capital. Many of the state capitals around the country resembled the national capital in Washington. He believed Louisiana needed something unique, and we certainly have that. The Old State Capitol is where Louisiana seceded from the Union at the beginning of the Civil War, and Union forces arrived a year later. While they were camped here, a fire broke out and gutted the interior of the building, but the walls stood. This model shows the stark difference between the way the Old State Capitol appeared in the 1850s and the construction after the Civil War, which brought the building back to life with some very dramatic changes. The Old State Capitol served as the State House until 1932, when Huey Long unveiled the fancy Art Deco new State Capitol. And after that, it was a series of state offices, and it became abandoned in the 1980s. And in 1991, it closed for a $6 million restoration under the Secretary of State's office. The way you see the building now is the 1882 period that the building has been restored to. We have visitors at the Old State Capitol from across the world and across the United States, and many of them do not know that they have ties to Louisiana. The 15 flags that encircle the staircase represent the 15 states that were created out of the Louisiana Purchase, and some of them are places you might not think about, like New Mexico or Wyoming or Montana. So when we have visitors from those states, we say, welcome home, because you didn't know you were from Louisiana, but you are. This is the governor's receiving office. This is where you would have waited to see the great man, and it would have been a man at the time that this building was occupied. Today, it's part of our traveling exhibit space. The centerpiece of the room is a statue of one of our earliest governors, Governor Bienville. It's a maquette or a model done by Angela Gregory, and the full-size statue is in New Orleans in the French Quarter. Welcome to the governor's office. This is actually where the governor did a lot of important business and met with people, and we know that the setup of the room is accurate from photos that were taken of Huey Long and other governors. The desk is one of our most valuable artifacts and dates back to the 1860s. You'll also find in this room a kiosk where there's a touch screen that allows you to hear and see some of Louisiana's most colorful and memorable governors. In this room, we ask our visitors to explore the history of Huey Long. Clearly, Louisiana's most influential and best remembered governor, he was controversial in many ways. And in this room, we present two differing versions of Long based on people's memories of him. And then we ask our visitors to make up their own minds about how they feel about the kingfish.
Business life in general, you will discover that these various and sundry isms and schisms have meant only disaster and distress to business and to people in general.
Even if people don't know a lot about Huey Long, most of them have heard about his assassination. He was killed at the new state capitol, and the controversy continues today about what actually happened on that fateful day. This exhibit presents two very disparate versions of what might have happened, and we ask visitors to decide for themselves. If you ask our staff to vote, this is probably our favorite exhibit because our mission is to engage and inspire people to be engaged in the democratic process. We spend a lot of time talking to young people and students about their rights and responsibilities in a democracy. The Ghost of the Castle is our award-winning immersive video that tells the story of the Old State Capitol through the eyes of Sarah Morgan, a young woman who grew up in Baton Rouge around the time of the Civil War. Her diary is one of the best documents of what happened here during the war and to this building. The second floor rotunda features our governor's portrait gallery, which is a real collection of photographs and portraits of our governors dating back to the earliest years before we were even a state. The architectural detail of the rotunda is really stunning. All of the structure that you see around you that is painted green and gold is cast iron. That of the second architect, and that was William Ferret. James Dakin constructed the building, but after the fire in the Civil War, the move was made to come back here, and the fourth floor was added and the beautiful stained glass rotunda, which is now our signature. There are 2,064 panes of stained glass in the umbrella. Welcome to the Senate chamber. This is the room where Huey Long was impeached and many other important debates were held here. Today, the room has been renovated to allow for a myriad of activities, including luncheons, presentations, and wedding receptions. The chandeliers are representations of what would have been here in the 1880s. And if you move over toward the stained glass window, you'll notice that the top of the window shows some charring. That's actually not from the Civil War fire. That's from a fire in 1906 when electricity was installed in the building. This is the magnificent House of Representatives chamber. At the time that it was used, there would have been desks and tiers of seating going down to a speaker's well. During the restoration, we reconfigured the room to allow for seating and a stage. We have many presentations here. The Youth Legislature typically meets here. This place is alive with activity. This is the grandest room in the Capitol, and as you can see from the chandeliers and the beautiful gold leaf magnolias around the top of the room, this really was a stately setting for many, many important decisions. This is the room where Louisiana voted to secede from the Union. This is where Huey Long was impeached, and this was where there was a huge fight over a lottery many, many years ago.